My stop leads you to the single circuits and leads you right to nowhere.
There's an old American proverb that says, "First impressions are the most lasting." Though the proverb is meant to refer to social interactions, I think it can also pertain to characters and stories. The storyteller has only one opportunity to introduce a character to the audience in a unique, effective, and lasting way. And it's this first impression that the audience will carry with them throughout the remainder of the story. It'll help determine if the audience wants to follow this character on their journey, and if they'll care what happens to them along the way. When considering character introductions in film, I don't think anyone does it better than the father of the summer blockbuster, Steven Spielberg. Spielberg has brought some of the most iconic heroes and villains to the big screen. And I believe he's able to effectively introduce characters in such memorable ways by employing a combination of two methods that I'm going to refer to as action and fraction. First, let's start with action. If you have ever worked in the entertainment industry, you've no doubt heard the adage, show, don't tell. Basically, it's the technique in which the director gives information to the audience about a particular character's background, personality, motivation, and emotions through their actions in order to elicit an authentic response. For example, villains don't verbally say that they're scary, it's their actions towards others that show us that they are to be feared.
I believe whatever doesn't kill you simply makes you stranger.
We're gonna sit here and
The same rule applies to all characters.
You can't just have your characters announce how they feel. That makes me feel angry.
Characters shouldn't simply say that they're angry, they show that they're angry through their actions.
I'm very sorry about this.
Okay, just do what you have to do.
And characters shouldn't list off their qualifications like a walking resume. They should show their intellect and skills in the way they handle difficult situations. The old cliche is true. Actions speak louder than words. It's in a person's actions that we find out who they truly are. And Spielberg employs this method in order to quickly and effectively give the audience information. Take the film Duel, for example. When we're first introduced to the antagonist, personified by the oil tanker, the audience quickly learns everything it needs to know about the villain through his actions towards our protagonist. The rusted oil tanker towers over David's car, blocking the road while blowing back smog in his face. Even the roar of the engine drowns out the sound of the radio. And when David simply tries to innocently pass, the driver responds by racing out ahead, nearly cutting him off the road and then obnoxiously hitting the brakes again, as if toying with David. Quickly we learn that this is a cat and mouse game that is only just beginning. Another example of action comes in the introduction of the shark in Jaws, Captain Hook in Hook, and the raptors in Jurassic Park. In their introductions, the audience barely sees the character physically on screen, if at all. But Spielberg knew that he didn't need to physically show them on screen in order for their presence to be felt, and for audiences to instantly fear them. The audience is able to experience the shark, Captain Hook, and the raptors through other characters on screen. In Jaws, the haunting score by John Williams helps personify the shark as it effortlessly tugs and thrashes Chrissy around the water. In Hook, the children cower in their beds from the glowing light and the ominous turning of the latch hook, before the parents eventually come home and shudder at the destruction left in the captain's wake. And finally in Jurassic Park, dozens of men with tasers and guns are helpless against the strength and intelligence of the raptors. These witnesses are our window into their respective worlds, and their emotions quickly mirror our own. We don't need to physically see them on the screen. All we need to experience is the carnage they're capable of inflicting, and instantly, we've established the villains that our heroes are up against. The second method Spielberg effectively uses in character introductions is fraction. This method refers to the bits and pieces that Spielberg deliberately focuses on that point to the larger whole character off camera. This could be an item conveying the character, like a weapon or a piece of their wardrobe, or it could be a part of the character himself, like his hand or foot. Showing only pieces of a character to the audience accomplishes a number of things. 1. It creates mystery for the audience. There are no accidents in filmmaking, so if the director is highlighting only a piece of the character, there must be a reason. But what is it? What is the director trying to communicate? This style of filmmaking takes a passive audience member and makes them an active participant. It makes them sit up in their chair and pay attention. When Spielberg introduces us to the antagonist at the beginning of E.T., we don't see his face, we only see a set of jingling keys hanging from his hip. Spielberg focuses on these keys, signaling for the audience to pay attention. He's establishing that these keys are the character's identifier. We associate the two together. We proceed to follow the antagonist throughout the remainder of the film, but only by following his jingling set of keys. Spielberg keeps the mystery intact, leaving us as the audience to wonder, who is he and what does he want? And only at 1 hour 20 minutes into the film does Spielberg finally reveal the antagonist's face. 2. Introducing characters by use of fraction also helps Spielberg build up his characters so they feel larger than life. It's the same technique used in horror films to build up the killer. Anticipation of danger is far worse than danger itself.
Where's the goat?
The mask, in this case the unknown, is far scarier than the killer underneath. Our minds are capable of filling in gaps and imagining things far worse than they are in actuality. For example, in Scream, all fear and suspense instantly vanishes once the killer's mask comes off and we see it's just boys underneath. Hitchcock also uses this method to great effect in Psycho. The killer's face is kept secret from the audience. All we see are shadows and quick glimpses. Those scary moments would not have been anywhere near as impactful if we saw Norman in drag from the beginning. Spielberg uses the audience's mind and emotions to his advantage. For example, in Schindler's List, we only see Oskar Schindler bit by bit. We're introduced to him through the fancy clothes he wears. Instantly, we know that he's extremely wealthy and a member of the Nazi Party when he lastly attaches his pen. He moves through a fancy party, but still we only see his back. We see he's suave by the way he tips the host, and important by the way he gets his own table, and how others stare at him with adoration. During this time, the audience is filling in gaps of information, building up the character in our mind as the anticipation of the reveal builds as well. And when we finally see Schindler's face, we're looking up at him, so he appears larger than life in the frame. Spielberg knows when and how to introduce his characters with the use of action and fraction, but some of his most famous character introductions occur when he's able to successfully employ both simultaneously. In Jaws, a single hand slowly scratching across a chalkboard is how we're introduced to Quint. We catch glimpses of Rufio's body and his wild hair and hook as he zooms around Lost Boys Island while everyone chants his name. A trembling hand holding a canteen is how we're quietly introduced to Captain Miller in Saving Private Ryan. But I think Spielberg's most iconic character introduction comes in Raiders of the Lost Ark, when we first meet Indiana Jones. We first see Indy silhouetted, wearing what will become his iconic fedora as he ventures into the remote jungle. We see he's calm, where others run scared. He moves forward in the face of danger. We see his hands clutching pieces of a worn map, suggesting that this adventure has been going on for a long time. And when his life is threatened by betrayal, his quick twitch reflexes kick in, as he effortlessly uses his unique whip to defend himself. And when his attacker flees, only then does he step into the light and reveal his face. It's 3 minutes 15 seconds into the film when we first see Indiana Jones's face, but already at that point, Spielberg has been communicating with the audience, showing us only what he wants us to see, playing our emotions like a conductor, and making his hero appear larger than life. Introducing characters in a unique, engaging way is a vital part of the storytelling process. It's the moment where legends are first born. And the impact of an introduction on an audience can determine whether those characters continue to live on in a culture's collective conscious. First impressions are the most lasting. So, think like Spielberg and make them count. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching. Just want to remind you guys that Entertain the Elk wouldn't exist without you all, so thank you so much for your continued support over the past few months. If you enjoyed this video, please like it below. Also leave me a comment. Tell me what your favorite Spielberg movie is. Mine is Jaws, followed by either Jurassic Park or Saving Private Ryan. Also, please share with your friends, but most importantly, please subscribe below. I'll have a button below me that you can click on, so that way you can see all the videos that Entertain the Elk has published, and you can see everything in the future. with each subscription I get, it just encourages me more and more to keep making these videos, so I would really appreciate it. Thanks again everyone for watching, and I'll see you next time.